Just 1 second. There we go. There we go. There we go. Hey, all right. Yeah, so we are here. Let me change my theme. So how's your week been going, Eric?
Very interesting. Different types of things. We're starting to get busy again with the extensions and some interesting people coming with returns and stuff from all of these all these tax preparers out here. So we're getting some new clients, some different stuff that we're seeing, and again, like I said, people are coming in now. We're getting close to extension time, so it's starting to pick up again as well. Always interesting around here.
I see. I see.
And also a lot of the consultations. I'm meeting a lot of clients with the consultations and things like that. So we're having different types of discussions about things. I think something we're going to be talking about today
Yeah.
is some things that I've had. We've had consultations with different clients on things like this because the things that we talk about, as you know, in these lives are is it's really happening. It's really happening to people out here. Even the articles that we do on a daily basis, those are we're not just pulling them out of the air. These are actual conversations I have with clients who ask these type of questions and things like that. And so I feel it's best just to put those out in articles, to put it out on social media and stuff like that, because one would think some people say, okay, these are things that people know, but they actually do not know. And so it's good to get this information out to people to give them an opportunity to find out these type of things to help them shape what they're going to be doing financially.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good stuff, man. So you have been, so everybody's been, I know we had quite a few on the last um live where they were wanting to set up with more consultations and really trying to get with you and see, hey, what does my financial picture look like? Helping me get get out of get out of this trouble, right? Out of this trouble.
Yep.
Um,
There's all types of different, again, like I say to people all the time, it's not cookie cutter. It's definitely not cookie cutter out here. So there's so many different things that people are dealing with that they really have a hard time figuring out how to get out of certain type of situations and things like that. It's not as easy or simple as people think it is. There's so many different financial struggles, financial hardships, emergencies, things like that that people are dealing with. So
that's good
let's get
stuff.
into it. Go ahead. What's your
Get
question?
into
Let's
it.
go.
Yeah, just getting some got a few technical stuff going on. But I don't know why it's not flowing the way we wanted to flow today. But yeah, we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. Ah another day. Another day. Man. I think I haven't slept in 3 days. So that's why
Yeah,
I
being out of town. Yeah, that's why we're doing today instead of Tuesday because
was like, I feel like I
people don't
haven't
know you
slept.
were out of town. You had some things that you had to go take care of. So,
I was
so we
like,
moved it this week to Thursday. Yep.
yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. Who's all it? I think we'll get some comments. Hey, Marcus, thanks for tuning in this evening. Folks who are tuning in, thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna try to send one more thing, Eric, but because when we're on here, we try to make sure it goes to everyone and everybody's getting access to this information. So we want to make sure everybody is there. What's going on, Marcus? Is there got two Marcuses online right now? So, so that's good. So what's going on, fellas? How's it going? How's it going? Thanks for joining us this evening. Hey Charles, how's it going? Yeah, this topic right here, Eric, has really been a very good topic. I know we've been discussing it and diving in deeper on this particular subject matter. And those of you who are tuning in today, just be ready, prepare yourself for today. Eric has a lot in story he wants to talk about today, so we've been preparing all week. So thank you. And if Thursday is a better day for you than Tuesday, that we usually have Master Your Money live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, let us know too as well, because we could do Tuesdays and Thursdays. But today's episode is the cost of being the responsible one. When everyone depends on you, who takes care of you? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Master Money with Eric Anderson. I just want to start off with tonight's question. Well, who is the responsible one in your family? If you had to think about it, who is the responsible one in your family? Are you the oldest? Are you the youngest? Are you the middle child? Are you the one that has the money, right? Are you the one that just handles money better? Or what does that look like? Are you just the responsible one? But who is the responsible one in your family? If you are, please say I am, right? In the chat, please let us know. If you're the responsible one, um or you want to be the responsible one. So if you want to be the responsible one, hey, type it in the chat too as well, let us know. um
So
but
even on
every
that, yeah, that's not even cookie cutter because most people would say, okay, I have a family. So if somebody says, okay, I have a family of like five of us, like three boys and two girls or whatever, and you say, okay, you would think the oldest one is the most responsible one. Sometimes it's the youngest because the youngest is, the last one to leave the house. So,
Mhm.
that's the one who's really closest to the parents, or, there just might be one who's in the middle who seems like they're more mature. They might have more money or things like that. So again, it's not automatically where somebody says, the oldest one is obviously going to be the responsible one to take care of the parents or to take care of certain situations because they're the oldest. It
Yeah.
really depends on the dynamic of your family and things like that. Hopefully if you're in a family situation, it would be where you're all coming together and taking care of be it the parent, be it the kids, be it whatever it is. But a lot of times it just does not work out that way because in some types of situations it's where you might have somebody in the family who can't help anybody else. It's just
Mm.
that simple. you know it's kind of like the old saying, you need to put your mask on first before you put somebody else's mask on.
Yeah.
I can't let my family completely deteriorate or whatever because I'm taking care of somebody else's family or somebody else's situation. So it's really, really tough, to sit back and feel, that you have to be responsible for, again, be it your parents, in this economy, things like that. A lot of kids are moving back home. A lot of kids are struggling to pay their bills and stuff like that. So then you can end up being in a situation where you're having to co-sign for something, or you're having to go get a loan, or you're having to take money out of a savings account or retirement account or something to help your kids out. And again, like we're talking today, it's going to stunt what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. So there's so many different dynamics. There's so many different things that happen and transpire to put you in a position to where, like you said, you feel like you have to be the responsible person in this situation.
That's interesting because when we all the stuff that you just said, like we're trying to support ourselves and support the family, support our aging parents, spouse. We're trying to, you're that friend that somebody borrows money from, because you always have money, and it's almost like you got the space and the money, yet I'm going to come over there and hang out with you. So it's almost feels like I can't live my life in the way I want to. You know what I'm saying? If I got more space, and I'm like, I can always just come over and stay with Eric, right? If not, if I mismanage my money in that sense, whether it be wife, whoever in the case may be, oh, I know I can go to that responsible one and I can at least get a few dollars or whatever the case may be. And if you think about it, it's like, well, that also, even though I want to help and have that heart, but it also does put, like a damper on my progress and my goals that I have too as well. Especially if I'm not gonna get that money back, which most of us know he probably gonna not get that money back,
Yeah.
right?
It's funny. I don't even think you saw it. I sent it to you right before we got on. There was a clip where they were talking to Damon Wilson. If you all do not know who Damon Wilson is, he is Lamont from Sanford and Son.
All
And they
right.
were talking about, how Red Fox, he lost everything because he wouldn't pay his taxes. And Damon was saying, everybody was saying, why are you not helping him? Why are you not helping him? And if you watch what I sent you, Damon was like, "Why would I help him?" He's like, he's doing this to himself. He's like, I could have empathy for like if you lost your job or, you had some type of sickness or something like that. But he's like, he's making the choice to not pay his taxes. They
Mm,
said that, they had even all these celebrities had done some stuff at his club and all that stuff to give him the money to be able to go pay his taxes. And he went down to the IRS office and still didn't pay him.
mm,
He just had the mindset of, I'm just not going to pay these taxes. And so, like, the mom was like, why on earth would I help him if he's not trying to help himself?
right.
That doesn't make any sense. And so, in the big scheme of that, that would be like, let's say, not talking about my brothers, but let's say I had a brother and I was watching my brother just go out here and spend money and just be all, frivolous and go gamble, go on vacation, do all these type of things. And then every month, every couple of months, you call me and say you can't pay your bills.
Yeah.
Am I responsible to help him? And again, I'm not talking about my brothers. I'm not talking about them specifically. My brothers are
So
not
your
like that
sister, we're
at
gonna
all.
say you don't have any sisters,
Let me
right?
make that clear. I'm not talking about my brothers. They are not irresponsible like that. But let's just say that was the case. Is it my responsibility to take care of you because you're not being responsible and taking care of your situation because you're being frivolous with your money and things like that? And that, again, that's what he was saying. He was like, I could see if it was a situation where he really needed help, but he's like, he's making the choice to not pay his taxes. He has the money. He's just doing whatever he wants to do with his money, and then you all expect me to take care of this for him. It'd be the same thing if somebody said, this person isn't paying their bills or doing whatever they want to do with it, or like if somebody borrowed money from me and I loan them the money and then I watch them go on vacations, I watch them go do whatever they want to do, but not pay me back, and then come right back and ask for more money.
Right.
Excuse me, am I supposed to give that person more money? Or am I supposed to cut you off?
Mm. Who usually becomes the responsible one in the family? Is there, what who makes that decision, or who steps up to the plate to be responsible in the family, I guess.
Well, usually, like in almost any situation, somebody just ends up becoming the leader. It's not just a title. Somebody just ends up becoming, the person who takes care of everything. It's not saying that you're doing everything, but you're more of the responsible one. Everybody's saying to you, okay, what do we need to do? And all this, that I'll help you, I'll give you whatever we need to do to make sure, because I know if I give you this money, or I know you're going to tell us what we need to do and stuff like that. So we're not leaving everything to you, but you're going to be the leader in this situation. But hopefully, it's never a situation where you're out there on your own taking care of the situation, and then the other people are kind of sitting back and not trying
Mm.
to help you. You kind of hope that that's not what ends up happening. But
Yeah. Interesting because as the oldest, I'm the oldest, right? So if you're the oldest and you have other siblings, then it's almost like that responsibility is kind of put on you. And I know
correct,
that I've had that put on me. And it's almost like kind of forced. And some people say, well, it's forced to be, but you're choosing to be and you're stepping up as a leader. But it's also that, that responsibility is a gift, right? um in a way. It's like, I don't want to say curse, but it's like, well, and so my brothers will say, well, you the oldest. I
yes,
said, what does that have to do with anything? Right? About my being responsible. But whatever that was, that's like they both said it individually. I was just like, well, just because I'm the oldest doesn't mean I'm supposed like I'm supposed to be responsible. So that's why I was like, why is this identity, kind of forced on me to be, quote, the leader,
correct.
like you said, or
Almost like I'm the
responsible.
parent now, like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
now the parent,
and
stuff like that. Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of like adultification in its different form in a sense.
yeah.
But yeah, that was just something where you're the oldest, so you're having to like make these decisions. And I had to make those decisions before.
And then interesting,
Um,
like you said, then it ends up where not so much just you having the responsibility, like I said, in many situations, you having that responsibility and stuff, that then affects your household
Yeah.
because now I'm not able, depending on the situation, I'm not able to save money the way I want to save it. I'm not able to go do things the way I want to go do things because I'm taking on these other responsibilities. And so, in a way, it could build some type of resentment. It could build, different types of feelings on that because you're feeling that what's going on is kind of stunning you, and it's really hard in society today because it's on both ends. You if you're in the middle, meaning my parents are getting old, I'm having to make sure they're good because they might not be able to work anymore. With the way with baby boomers and stuff like that, they might not have the type of money necessary to be able to pay their bills or do stuff like that, or they might just be sick. So you're having to help them from that manner. And then on the other side, you have kids who are quote unquote grown, but they don't make enough money or whatever to be able to pay their own bills and take care of themselves. Or sadly, in many situations, they're just irresponsible.
Yeah.
They're young, so they go out and they go do things with their money because they feel they have some type of safety net that's going to always be there for them. And then as the parent, that's when, like I said, you go and drain your bank account to go help them get a down payment on their home, or you go co-sign for something for them, or you go get a car because they had bad credit. It's just different types of things. You're giving them money for groceries, you're doing all types of stuff like that, and you're just thinking that you're not really thinking about what you're doing, except for these type of things are the things that are stunting your growth and
Yeah.
wealth, right? Instead of me giving you money every month, I could be putting that money into something that's going to grow for my retirement and things like that because you definitely don't want that cycle. You definitely don't want to be when you get old, now somebody's got to take care of me like you're saying. Somebody's got to take care of me because I was not able to do the things necessary for me to be prepared when I got old. So now somebody's got to take care of me. And you see
I
people say it all the time. You see people say it all the time. When I get old, they're gonna take care of me because I took care of them
yeah.
while they were growing up and stuff like that. So now you're pretty much putting that burden on your kids saying, "Hey, y'all are gonna
Mm,
take care of me when I get old because I've sacrificed," that's the word, right? "I've sacrificed all of this to take care of you, to make sure you're good, for you to go to school, for you to do this and that. So because I made sure all that was good for you, now I wasn't able to take care of myself. And so now when I get to that age, now it's your responsibility to take care of me."
wow. Is that sometimes
And and
it's
and the crazy part
open and
about that,
sometimes it's unspoken expectations, right?
right, and it's crazy, I'm gonna say the name. Dave Ramsey hates that, doesn't he? He
Yeah,
hates
he
that.
does. He does.
He
It's like that's not
absolutely
my
hates
problem.
when
That's not
people
your
call
problem.
up yep, when people call up and say that they're giving their parents money, they're helping their parents do this and that. He absolutely hates that. He says, "That is not your problem, that is not your responsibility, your parents should have done better, they should have thought about taking care of themselves and stuff like that. Your parents are not your responsibility," and stuff like that. But we all aren't grown up thinking like that. We all don't grow up thinking like, "Hey, everybody's grown, everybody needs to take care of themselves," and stuff like that. We don't all think like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess when it's like I think when you think about like right now, what would you say to someone that's like, hey, we got aging parents, you got certain things going on, and you're trying to choose between certain I know we talked about life earlier, about life be lifing, right? And you're like, well, dang, I was out of debt, I was good. I'm doing certain things, I'm making moves, I'm doing well in my career, whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden I get in this big old, bundle of debt, right? And like, oh, I got this, I got that, I got involved in this or crypto or whatever, right? And it's like, how did I get here? And you're trying to figure out what you need to help others too as well. And so, how does someone choose between like taking care of themselves, making sure that if there's some boundaries or supporting the kids or making sure that you retire, or then your parents helping them out with their bills, making sure that they're good and whatever the case may be, because you don't want to be like that 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 child is, that son or daughter or whatever that's like, I'm just gonna leave my parents in the home or whatever the case may be, and then you just let them be. And so I don't know, but is there anybody you would tell someone right now that's probably going through that how would they choose, or how should they navigate that, right? Because right now we're in it,
Correct. And
you,
again,
you
like I
know.
said, it's a hard conversation, and I'm gonna try not to be as abrupt as him. But at the end of the day, like you said, you gotta take care of yourself because you can't count on someone taking care of you. You just can't. It might sound harsh or whatever, but you've got to make sure your household is taken care of first. And the sad part about that is, but then what if something did happen to you and somebody had that same mindset about you? Like, what if you got sick and couldn't work? What if you got some type of disease where somebody had to come and take care of you and make sure you're good, but you've always had the attitude of, I gotta take care of myself. I gotta take care of myself. So that's a hard conversation to have. But the best thing I could say is, you know, I can't let my household fall because I'm taking care of your household. So there's a difference between helping somebody and helping them to the point where now it's really affecting me. Now it's really stunning my household. Now my household is having a problem paying bills. My household is having a problem, taking care of themselves because I'm busy taking care of you. And if that's the situation, that's really, really tough. But in a lot of situations, um, it's not a situation where like somebody's sick or something like that. It's where somebody's taking advantage of you. Because if you let somebody sit back and say, "Hey, you're going to be able to figure it out," a lot of times they're going to be able to figure it out. But if they feel they got this safety net, again, like I said, I loan you money or I help you with your bills and I'm watching you out here living your life, you're probably gonna feel a certain type of way, right?
Yeah.
You feel a certain type of way. But then you keep coming back and asking for money and crying and saying, that you can't pay your bills and you can't do this and that. But, I'm watching you live your life. I'm watching you do your thing. So, you're going to feel a certain type of way. Eventually you're going to say, no, I'm not going to help you anymore and things like that. But it has to get to a point, like you said, where you have to let people sink or swim to be able to take care of their own situation, take care of their own bills, and things like that. It's almost like somebody giving their kid tough love and saying, "Hey, your kid calls and says, "Hey, you know, I can't pay my bills this month, whatever." And then you say, "Well, is the cable on? Is the cable on at your house, Isaac?"
Like cable? No,
Yeah,
I
is the
don't got
cable on?
cable.
Yeah, is the cable on?
No.
You better cut the cable off. He goes, "No." He goes, "No." You gonna have to suffer. You gonna have to
You have to
suffer.
suffer,
You
right?
gotta do
Right.
some sacrificing as opposed to asking everybody to pay your bills. You need to figure out how to budget. You need to figure out how to make your money stretch. You might not be able to go to the club. You might not be able to go to those concerts. You might not be able to do those things. You need to focus on paying your bills and not expect other people to pay those things for you. And that's
I
a
think
hard pill. That's a hard pill for some people to understand that. Believe it or not, everybody's like, "No, you're crazy." No, trust me. It's a hard pill for a lot of people to believe and understand.
so. What I'm hearing is that when you said earlier was the courage to say no,
Correct.
right? Like you got to have the courage to say no, uh, and that's hard, especially if it's like a spouse, right? Like if it's your partner or whatever, and it's like, oh, you love them, and so it's like, how do you say no to those things? If they're being irresponsible, whatever the case may be, right?
Correct.
So yeah, I think yeah, I was also thinking about that. Why do people feel guilty protecting their own future? Right? Like when we talk about retirement and in ourselves and what we want to do, why do some people, I don't know if you've had this as far as your clients or anything like that, just feel guilty about protecting the things that they want to achieve in their own future, because there's certain things of cost of being responsible, right?
Correct. And like
So
you said, we live in a crazy time right now. Like you said, everybody is you only live once, go out here and do your thing. Who's thinking about retirement? So many people say to me, "Eric, I'm never going to be able to retire anyway." All these other people live in these lifestyles. How come I can't live this lifestyle? And things like that. And so it gets ingrained in you. Even something as simple as we were laughing and talking about Amazon, TikTok, and things like that. Those type of things are the type of things that keep you poor. They just
Mm.
are because it's so easy to order on Amazon. It's so easy to order stuff on TikTok and stuff like that. You don't even have to leave the house to do a whole, to be shopping all day long. You don't even have to leave the house. You can have your groceries delivered. There's so many things that you can do without having to do any type of work, like going out and buying it and doing things like that to actually spend money. And so saving money for some reason is like the least thing we talk about. I'll just be honest with you. When I sit down and we go over people's budget and stuff like that, I let people do the budget sheet and stuff like that. What do you think is the thing that is never in anybody's budget?
What?
I need to put this money to the savings account. I need to put this money to this
That's
emergency
not in
fund.
their budget?
It's
Savings?
not in their budget. No,
Is it
no,
because of the fixed expenses, you don't have much left over?
correct. Or because, like you
Or
said, you just feel that I have this extra money, so I can spend it.
so I can
You
spend
know,
it.
and
Right,
we've had these conversations,
yeah.
people have grown up, under a certain lifestyle or under certain belief, when you especially if you're somebody who has the trauma of growing up without money and things like that,
Mm,
when you do get a little bit of money, it's almost like when you see people go out whenever they get money, they go out to these expensive restaurants or they go on these cruises, they do all this type of things because you believe that that is some type of freedom and things like that, even though it might be something that you can't afford. But if you've grown up in the trauma of quote unquote being poor, not being able to do these type of things, the moment you start making more money, the moment you start having the ability to do certain things, you go out and do it. But like building for your future, making sure you're out of debt and things like that, those are not things that we think about. It's like you hear people all the time, no matter how much money you make, that's come I know I'm telling the truth. No matter how much money people make, every tax bracket, every group of people, no matter how much money you make, there are people walking around saying they live paycheck to paycheck. How is that possible? If a person
mm.
making $75,000 a year, there are people walking around making $75,000 a year who can afford to pay their bills, who can save their money, save for retirement. They're good, and somebody making $250,000 a year tells you they're living paycheck to paycheck. It's gotta be your
Hey,
lifestyle. It's gotta be your lifestyle.
I was
And
on
those
a
people are saying that they can't save money, they can't put money towards retirement, they can't do certain type of things. It's got like you said, it's gotta be your fixed expenses. It's gotta be your lifestyle. It's gotta be the way how you see money. And again, sadly, we don't look at money as a vehicle, as crazy as it sounds, we don't look at money as a vehicle to get to financial freedom because if you did, you'd be investing 10, 15, 20% of your money towards some type of vehicle that's going to make money in order to give you the financial freedom that we're talking about. But again, the last thing on our mind is saving money. It's a conversation of just people saying, I'm doing 6% in my 401k just to get the match.
yeah,
And again, we don't need to have the argument on you should do a 401k and IUL or fix, that's not even the argument. The argument is, again, like we were saying last week, the argument is, are you doing anything? Do you have a savings account? Do you have emergency fund? Do you have any of those type of things? You're just going around living paycheck to paycheck. And again, it's not, sadly, it's not about money. If you have that mindset, anybody will tell you it's the mindset. The more money you make, it doesn't make any sense if you're getting all these promotions and all this and that, and you're still living paycheck to paycheck. It's because of your mindset on what you're doing with your money. You go out and buy a nicer house, you go out and buy a nicer car, you go on nicer vacations, you go out to eat more, you go out and shop more. You go out and do all these things because you have the money to be able to do it. But the last thing on your mind is it's like when I had a job back when I was working, we used to have this conversation because I used to do this even back then when people were talking about, how do I save money? It's like, hey, we're going to get a raise, right? Yeah. Take that raise and put that towards your 401k. You know what they would say, Isaac?
mm.
I can't afford that because I can't pay my bills. You've been paying your bills. What are you talking about? You've been paying your bills. Are you saying you're not paying your bills? You've been paying your bills. So why wouldn't you take that raise and move that to something? If I got a promotion, why wouldn't you move that something? If I get a bonus, why wouldn't you move that to something? All these people who legally or not are getting these huge getting these huge tax returns. What are you doing with that money when you get these huge tax returns? Are
Yeah.
you paying off debt? Are you putting some of the money into a savings account, into a high yield savings account or something like that? Or do you just blow it? 3 months from now, is all that money gone?
Would this be, Eric, that maybe those folks don't have a plan or a goal in mind? Because,
Nope.
like certain time, like you have a goal, I have a goal, and like you're moving towards that goal, but at what degree are you moving at that goal? But you're still moving in that direction, right? Like you're
Correct.
gonna have fun, you're gonna own that journey, you're gonna live your life and all that. But it's like it's not like I'm just not planning, I'm not doing those things, I'm not trying to focus on that next thing, or plan for the future or whatever that case may be. So would that be something like maybe they just didn't have a goal or a plan, so they have
Or
nothing to
plan.
hit?
Something as simple as, like I say to somebody, if you say, okay, I'm going to max out my IRA. So many people say, okay, the beginning of the year when I get my tax return or whatever, I put it all into my Roth IRA or put it out to my traditional IRA or whatever. I'm done. So no matter what else I do throughout the year, I've reached my goal. Somebody who says I need to put 10 to 15% into my 401k because that's going to get me to where I need to get towards retirement. If you have that money put into your account and don't borrow out of it, like the article said yesterday, don't borrow out of it and just let that grow as you continue to work, you're going to reach retirement, right? You're going to reach your goal. But the problem is we don't do that. We don't put money into the IRA. We don't put enough money into the 401k. We let the money hit our bank account. And when the money hits your bank account, that's when you feel, hey, I can do whatever I want to do with this money instead of saying, I need to make sure this money is going towards hitting my goal. And that's sitting down, having a conversation, having a true understanding of the type of money that you need to be saving in order to reach these type of goals, be it retirement, be it pay off debt, be it build an emergency fund, build a savings account. Most people do not have these type of conversations, like you said. They don't have a plan. They're just working. And in their head, they're saying, but I can't pay my bills. I can't pay my bills. But again, if you really and truly said, I'm going to stretch and do the type of things that I need to do to reach a certain goal, you'll be able to hit that goal. No matter, again, there are plenty of people out here who do not make a whole lot of money, who are able to retire. I know you see these things all the time. This man was a janitor for 60 years and he retired a millionaire. How? He lived below his means, right?
Mhm.
He put money into his 401k. He put things to his retirement and things like that. So it's absolutely possible to do these type of things no matter how much money you make. It's about what do you do with the money that you make. And again, it goes back to mindset.
Eric, I'm gonna throw this in here because I know there's some folks that are probably tuning in tonight, and I know we've probably been in a situation or will be in this situation um, at some point. Well, you thinking about it is like as a child, and you if you have children and you're a parent and you gave everything to that child, school, education, all that kind of stuff, and you sacrificed a lot of the stuff that you're there's a difference back then, right? Like it's like they didn't go eat out, they didn't do those things, there wasn't those vacation, we went to grandmama house and we sat in the what I'm saying, stuff like that. It was a different type of
It was a different
thing
time.
going on, but it's
Correct.
like they put all that effort into making sure that you get to the to that degree, and that you're like the first one to go to college and you were able to do that. And then it's like I gave everything to you to be successful, right? And it's kind of like if you don't be successful, then you can't take care of me. But then it's like, well, I'm doing this because I love you and this is my duty to do this. But then also, as that parent that gave everything, right? This is for that parent that gave everything to their child, and they're left with nothing at the end of the day, and they can't, they sacrifice their health and all those things, their youth and all that for their child, and to be like, what do you say to that? to to that parent that got grown kids and they're doing their own thing. But then what do you say? What do you say to them? Because they didn't plan for the retirement like that, right? They didn't plan for those things as well. So that's why they don't have, and maybe they got to stay with you or whatever the case may be. They got to stay with the one of the parents or something, one of the kids, siblings. So it's
But I'm getting ready to hurt somebody's feelings.
go ahead, go ahead.
You didn't give them the one thing that you could have gave them that would make them good. The financial education of understanding what you need to do to be able to have all those things. If you are so relentless on taking care of them and you're not doing the things you're supposed to do to take care of yourself.
Mm,
So if my kid came home when they're teenagers and I'm showing them how we're saving money, how we're putting things away, how we're doing things like that. Again, not toot my own horn or anything like that. Remember what I told you happened this weekend at the birthday party.
yeah,
He only played with that one toy.
yeah,
He did. He only played with that one toy.
yeah,
And I understand he's 2, but he didn't jump up and say, "Where's the rest of my gifts?" and all that. He
yeah,
didn't.
yeah,
He didn't.
yeah.
He didn't jump up and say, "Where's the rest of my gifts?" and act a fool and all that. But when he's old enough, I'm gonna sit him down and say, you know, "This is what I was doing with the money instead of buying you gifts, instead of doing these type of things. I'm helping you build your future." And then hopefully he'll run with that. They'll both run
Right,
with it.
right,
Instead of say, "Okay, you're saying that I have this custodial account that you're the custodian of my account till I'm 21, and when I turn 21, I'm just gonna go buck wild. I'm just gonna go crazy with that money." No, hopefully you're gonna have a conversation with them to help them understand how you've given them a leg up by putting money into the account, by the time value and all the stuff of the money in that account. That's the best thing you can give for your kids is the education of understanding, how finances work, how to live below your means, how to do all these things. Again, it's a hard thing because like you said, you want to give your kids everything.
right.
You want to give your kids everything. You want to take your kids to Disney World. You want to do all these things with them. You want to buy them Jordans. You want to make sure, that they have everything their heart desires, but you're not giving them financial education, number 1, and number 2, it's killing you doing that. You're studying
Mm.
your future by trying to take care of them, by giving them what you believe is the best that you're giving them, but
So,
like you
so
said, then and here's the worst part, Isaac, if your child grows up spoiled like that, what you think your child's gonna be when they're an adult?
wow.
If they grow up spoiled like that, if they don't understand the value of money, if they don't understand, saving money, living below your means and things like that, what do you think they're gonna grow up? I know some
I
people
mean,
really don't like that, especially all these little princesses running around here.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I was saying. I
So
was
now
like,
you
they're
gotta deal
still
with it. Now you gotta
entitled.
marry her, now you gotta deal with it.
Yeah, because
And
it's
and
still
and again,
entitled.
this isn't me. This isn't me. Watch all these videos of all these girls walking around saying, "I grew up like this. I had this. I had this." You've got to provide that for me.
$250
Yep.
lunch dates and stuff like or
You gotta
dinner
provide
dates and
this
stuff
life.
like
And
that.
some of these women have never had that lifestyle
Yeah.
and expect somebody to give them that type of lifestyle. But imagine if that's the type of lifestyle you grew up in, that your father and your mother and your father made sure you had everything. Made sure you had everything. And so now when you get married, she has that expectation of maintaining that lifestyle.
Mm.
Again, I'm not saying not do anything for your kids and do all this and that, but it's well, leave the kids out of it. If you just have your own budget and you're not saving money in your own budget, you're not living correctly. You're just not.
Woo!
You're not living correctly because again, it's one thing back in the day, with our parents and stuff like that, where they worked at the state or they worked, in the military or worked any job back in the day where you were getting pensions and stuff like that. As you see, that's not today. There are so many conversations. Again, I'm going to go back to it. When I talked about, but like I said, the articles that I write are from conversations. From conversations. Do you know how many people walk around and say, I quit this job and I took the 401k out?
Yeah.
Or people walking around saying, if I can just borrow, I saw an article today. I can just borrow out of my 401k and I got to pay interest on it, but the interest goes right back into my account. So I'm making money, but you don't understand that as you're paying that back out of your check, so now you're getting less money because you're having to pay it back, and it stops as far as being the doing the investing and all that until you pay it back. People don't understand that. It's like you think it's the best thing to do because you're borrowing from your money, but hopefully you're in a situation where you do not have to borrow from your 401k because that's stunning your ability to grow to your retirement. And the worst thing people can do, like I said, when you're switching from job to job to job, is to take the 401k out and say, hey, I have this extra money. We're not even going to talk about the taxes and the penalties and all that of taking it out, just stopping that from being in your 401k and building towards retirement because so many people are walking around now in the 50s and 60s saying, I'm not going to be able to retire. And why is that? Because they're saying there's no money in my 401k.
Eric, they
Because
bet on
either
themselves
because
and they
either
open
I
up
wasn't
businesses and
because
stuff.
either like I said, I was going from job to job and taking it out, or because in many cases you're just doing enough to get the free money,
Hmm.
which is whatever the match is. Most people just are doing that, and it's like that's not going to be enough to retire on. It's not. And again, I'm not here to argue about 401ks are horrible and all that. Whatever. If you don't want to do a 401k, then do something else. But you have to be building your retirement because again, if you're not getting a guaranteed check every month, you're going to be living off whatever pile of money you have when you get to retirement. And
You
that's
can't
the
save
conver
your way to it.
no, you cannot save your way to it. You cannot. You've got to be putting in vehicles that are making money while you sleep, as they say. And the sad part about it is so many of us in our age, Isaac, we've never had this conversation. Like I said, I've sat in front of grown people who said, what's a Roth IRA? What's a high yield savings account? How do those type of things work? And these are people who are in their 40s and their 50s. It's like you should already have these things. You should already be doing these type of things. But because we've never been taught these type of things, we've never had these type of conversations and things like that. Sadly, Isaac, a lot of people, there used to be a time where I would talk to people about a 401k and stuff. I'm like, are you putting money in your 401k at work? You know what they would say? No. And I'd say, why not? They say, because I don't understand it.
Hey,
They're like,
somebody
nobody has
said
ever explained it to
yeah,
me. No, I do not understand it. I do not understand how it works. I don't understand any of that. So I'm just not gonna put any money in it.
yeah. I had a
Instead of
coworker
getting
that did that.
instead of having a conversation with somebody to sit down and talk to them and explain how the 401k works, how you're giving away free money and things like that. People
See,
just say, I do not understand it. And then, fortunately or unfortunately, today, in today's society, we have all this social media of all these people telling you how these things are horrible. And that's who you run with. That's who you run with because those are the people who get all the clicks, they get all the likes and all that, instead of the people who are trying to tell you, who are saying, like I say all the time, go talk to somebody who looks, well, I can't say who looks like they have money, but who's comfortable, who's really retired and stuff like that. Go have a conversation with them. They're gonna tell you, they're gonna be like, man, I was putting money in my 401k, I was living below my means, I was doing all this and that. I wasn't YOLOing out here. I wasn't driving the Bentley. I wasn't doing all these things that these people who want you to believe they have money are out here doing. The unassuming person, right? The millionaire next door, the
yeah,
unassuming person is the person who's good. Basically, so they can get off my back. The Dave Ramsey people, those are those type of people who live below their means, understand to invest. Like I think it's what baby step 4.
mhm.
Invest the 10 to 15%. Is that baby step 3 or baby step 4? Baby step 1 is the 1,000. Baby step 2 is Get rid of all your debt. Yeah, it's 4
Get rid of
because
that 3.
no, no, baby no, baby step 3 is, build up the 3 to 6 months. So baby step 4 is now invest 10 to 15%. So it's the people who are doing those type of things who are gonna be good in retirement, as opposed to the people who are just
15%. Yeah, that's
yeah,
15%.
yeah, 10 to 50%. Yeah. Instead of the people who sit back and say, "I'm not gonna be able to retire. So I'm just gonna you only live once. I'm just gonna do my thing out here." Or they're gonna gamble and do all these type of things. And again, you all don't see it, but we watch these videos of all these people calling in to Dave Ramsey and Ramette and all these people talking about like the guy who took the 250 out of his house to buy the crypto and didn't even have enough sense to understand what short sales were. He
Yeah,
pressed the wrong button, right?
yeah.
And lost all of it because he didn't even have enough sense to understand what he was doing. But everybody was telling him he can make all this money on crypto, but didn't understand what he was doing.
That's heartbreaking right there, Eric.
It's absolutely
That's
heartbreaking
heartbreaking.
because again, a lot of it is desperation, a lot of it is fear. You know, once you get to a certain age, you have this fear that I'm not gonna be able to retire. I'm not gonna be able to live this lifestyle or whatever. So you start panicking. You start doing certain type of things with your money, which are not wise. But the people who are talking to you, they make it seem like it's gonna be so easy. They give you the impression that they're making all this money doing it and everything like that, and then you're the one holding the bag. Like in that situation, you basically mortgaged your home. You took out a HELOC or whatever you took out on your home. So now you're getting ready to lose your home. But sadly, it's a situation for people. And again, I know we're getting off tangent as always because we're talking about being responsible and being responsible for other people. But as you see, it leads to these type of things.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
does. It leads to these type of things. And so, but at the end of the day, that's the main thing is it's it's a noble thing, you feel it's your responsibility, you feel you're supposed to take care of other people and things like that, but, you've gotta take care of yourself first, you have to have a plan for your money, you have to understand your goals, you have to understand what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to achieve, and I know there are people watching this right now saying who might be saying, "You know what you're talking about," "It is so hard out here, it's such a struggle out here," and stuff like that. I get it. I get it. How can we save money and things like that? You know, I won't go into the, do you have a cell phone? Do you have cable at your house and all kinds of stuff like that when people talk about things to cut your expenses, but you need to start with, and I'll use the 50-30-20. If you were actually sat down and looked at all your fixed expenses, if your fixed expenses are more than 50% of what you bring home every month, you're already in trouble. You're already in trouble. And your fixed expenses is not your cable, it's not your cell phone. Your fixed expenses are this house, this car note,
Yeah.
those type of bills, the things that you believed when you bought it, but you didn't sit down and say, my house note is going to be this amount. And what percentage of my income is that? We walk in and we say, they said I can afford this house. Or you go to the dealership and you don't walk in saying, I can only afford this car note.
You know
Have
how
you
much
ever gone to the
people.
dealership, Isaac, where you're like, okay, I'm going to take the car. And then they say, okay, you got to call the insurance company now because you know you can't drive off the lot
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
without
yeah.
the insurance. So you call them, and they tell you how much the insurance is, and you still get up and take the car because you're like, I had no intention of paying this car note, and I definitely had no intention of paying this insurance for this car. This car is going to break me. And then what does everybody say? We'll make it work.
We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. So you're already ingrained in that. But like I said, if you start when you're looking at your budget, a great example, like I said, If I have a 401k, which I do, and I say I'm taking this amount of money out of the business to put into my 401k every month, that money's gone. I can't spend it, right? That money's gone. It's building towards my retirement. That money's gone. But we don't look at it like that. We sit back and say, Eric, I can't afford to do that. It's almost like when people call and say, a great example would be when people call and say, how do I pay less taxes at the end of the year? I say, you got to change your W 4. And what do they always say? If I change my W 4, then I can't afford to pay my bills through the month.
Payment bills. Yeah.
But now you're getting ready to have to call the IRS to set up a payment plan. So now you have a bill that you have no choice but to pay,
Mm,
right? Now you have
yeah.
an expense. Now you have
Yeah.
an actual bill instead of you sitting back and cutting back your, because now you're going to have to budget. You have to budget to make that bill up, right?
Yeah.
So now you got to cut something out instead of already saying in your head, I got to take more taxes out and fit that into my budget on a monthly basis. You don't do that. You say, Eric, I can't afford it. But then as soon as you do your taxes, what do you say? Eric, can I call up there and set up a payment plan? You sure can. So now you got to pay back that money with interest as opposed to just changing your W 4.
About to change
Having
my
extra money taken out. You have to change your
uh,
W 4 or have extra money taken out. I know it sounds crazy, right? But it's
yeah.
the absolute truth. It's the absolute truth.
Or put
Put
more
it into a
percentage on your
401k.
401k, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put more
yeah,
money in your 401k and stuff like
yeah.
that. So again, it's not dollar for dollar. It's not dollar for dollar. But again, you're paying less taxes because it's before taxed out, tax deferred. And so you're paying less taxes because you're paying the taxes later. But again, we don't look at it like that. We just say if you put more money into my 401k or if you change my W 4 to have more taxes taken out, I can't pay my bills throughout the month. But then when you call the IRS and say, hey, I have to set up a payment plan,
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
so now I gotta make that work. Unless it's these situations where then you have somebody help you do your taxes to where now you're getting these huge returns. That's a whole nother conversation because you don't want to have to pay that back.
Yeah.
That's even worse. When those type of things happen, that's even worse. When the IRS comes and says that when they come and audit your returns and stuff like that and said that your returns are all wrong, and you got to not only do I to give that money back, then you got to pay all this interest and all that stuff as well. But that's a whole nother conversation that we'll get into one day. But so again, like I said, it's all about planning. If I was to look at my W 4 and say I'm going to owe taxes unless I change my W 4, so I'm going to have to have more taxes taken out. So I'm going to have to make the adjustment during the month in order to fix my budget and things like that to be able to accommodate the check that I'm getting as opposed to wait until the end of the year and then again, like I said, setting up a payment plan. We don't look at it like that until you got a call to set up the payment plan.
I was that's good, Eric. And I was thinking about like, and this is just I'm like wild over here, but I always talk about, well, if I need to save money, what if I get one of those little RV trailers and put my family in it, right? And I was saying a little
To the
RV park, you know what
extreme.
I'm
Yeah.
saying?
To the
So
extreme.
I'm over here like, well, should I just carry my piece with me? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just like, I'm just gonna stay strapped, and then whatever happens, I don't know what's gonna be out there, right? Uh, and try to like save some costs. So maybe I move in with a parent or a friend or something like that where we can share those share the expenses or whatever the case may be, so I can help grow and get out with if 6 months to a year or something like that, where you can kind of get ahead and get some things situated so
Yeah.
you
To move
can
forward.
move forward.
Yeah,
And
to
it's
move
like
forward.
almost like a pride thing because I know some folks, they got a couple of families living in the same house.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, and then they were able to go buy themselves a house,
Yeah.
right?
But like you said, a lot of people will not. Again, a lot of it,
A lot
like
of
anything
people.
else, is sacrifice. A lot of people are not willing to make certain sacrifices. Like you said, if you said, okay, I'm not going to go on any vacations, I'm not going to do anything. Again, I'll use his name again. Like Dave Ramsey will say, for the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to be beans and rice, right? Isn't that what he says?
Yeah, rice and
He's like, you're
beans.
gonna, yeah, he's like, you're gonna take these next 2 or 3 years. You're not gonna go out to eat. You're not
Woo!
gonna do anything. You're gonna attack all of your expenses. You're gonna get all this debt down and stuff like that. And a lot of people aren't willing to do it. And that's the sad part. That's why a lot of people, again, make sure how you cut this, bro. That's why a lot of people hate Dave Ramsey because they don't want to sacrifice. They don't want to do the type of things that it takes. And again, I agree. Once you're past baby step 7, once you're, living your life, whatever, you're right. You want to go buy that car, you want to go do all those things, as long as you don't bring yourself back into debt, then go live your life. But the problem is most people aren't that. Like I said, it's crazy when I see people say $1,000 in an emergency fund is unrealistic. When what do they say? 60% of people don't have 400.
Yeah.
So for all these people saying $1,000 is unrealistic to save for an emergency fund, there's so many emergencies that more than $1,000. That's crazy to tell people to save $1,000 and then start paying off their debt. Okay, so let's start where you're at.
Yeah.
Do you have $1,000? And most people will say no. So,
We got
so to
I
have that
there's a
conversation, that argument is that's wild. That's wild to me, for people to say that. But, you have people who are so against it. The big thing most people are against is the credit cards and all that. Again, that's a whole different conversation. But at the end of the day, like what you asked me, if you don't have a budget, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have goals, you know, you're just out here flapping in the wind, point blank. And I think it was you or somebody asked me about, couples, families and things like that. You've got to be evenly yoked on that. Because again, we see so many people who call in and stuff like that who say one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing, meaning I'm thinking we're over here saving money. I'm thinking we're doing all this and that. And my spouse is killing us
yeah.
because my spouse is out here doing things that I have no idea. All of a sudden, I find out my spouse has all this credit card debt that they're afraid to tell me about. Or my spouse has borrowed all this money out of the house that I had no idea about. And now we're getting ready to lose our home and things like that.
I think one of the things that just recently came up was that children's the education cost, right? So if they want them to go to a specific school or the activities that they're involved in, and so they want them to be great. They want them to invest in the things that they're interested in, but it's costing them,
It's
right?
costing
And
them.
so if it's tuition is 20, $30,000 a year or whatever the case may be, right? Like, and even though you might could afford it to make it work or whatever the case may be, but look at that though, right? And it's like, well, I want him to do that. And you're probably taking out, and if you're not communicating that, especially with the spouse or your partner or whatever, then it's like, well, hey, I understand. And it's like, how do you have that conversation with your partner in that sense of like, hey, we I know we want to put him in this school, we want him to do that, but like looking at it, we are not going to we're not going to be good, right? Like at the end of the day, we're not going to be good. These kids are going to get the same education over here or over there or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
just
it's almost
and
like when other people trying to put their kids into private school.
Yeah,
So it's not even wait until college. It's people call all the
private school.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
people call all the time and say, can we write off our kids going to this school? And even if you could, like I said, right now it's only a $600 credit. Like if you have your kids in certain daycares and things like that, it's only a $600 credit. So if you have all these kids that you're paying thousands of dollars a month, which some people are paying $1,000 a month for their kids to be in certain daycares and stuff like that, it's like the write off is only $600, right? I'm like, what? Yeah, that's the child dependent care is only $600. So is it worth it to you? For your kid to go to that school? And like you said, a lot of people say they want their kids to have a leg up and things like that, to go to certain schools, go to private school, to go to certain colleges and things like that. But like you said, is that now gonna hinder you to where
Yeah.
now it's a possibility when your kid gets out of college or when they get older, now they gotta help you.
But Eric, that's the cost of being responsible. Isn't that that's the whole episode, right? The cost of
That
being the responsible one.
is
If
correct.
I'm the leader and the head of my family, and I'm just speaking, right? And I'm trying to take my family to a certain place, or I'm trying to hit a goal, and there's all these obstacles in my way to be able to achieve what I'm trying to achieve. And but there's things I also want that are coming in to play, right? There's life happening. And it's like, it's almost, it's just hard to navigate and make those hard decisions between parents living, right, aging parents living, retirement, right, and your children's education and their well-being and getting them out of binds and stuff like that, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah,
look, if they got to
it's,
go to work, you might have to pay for a full car, you might have to come out the cash, and then
yeah, again,
you
like I
have your
said,
car you got to pay for
I've
expenses.
actually seen that where, people are like, I have this credit card debt because my child lost their job. So I'm
Yep.
helping them pay their rent, or
Yep.
I had to take money out of the account because my child lost their job and I don't want them to lose their home. Or I don't
Yep.
I don't want them to move back in here with me. So I'm helping them
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. Or I don't want them to lose their car. I don't want them to
Yeah,
mess up their credit. So I'm paying these things for them. So like you said, it can add up. It can really and truly. So again, it's a tough. Like I said, there is no easy answer. I know
mhm,
Dave Ramsey's easy answer is your responsibility is to you. Basically, it's like
yeah,
that's not your responsibility. When you see those people call and say, I'm paying this for my parents. I'm trying to help my parents out and stuff like that. And he'll say straight up, he'll say that's not your responsibility. He'll straight up say it. He'll like, hey, that's not your responsibility. So it's
well,
a tough pill to swallow to actually do that, but again, I'll say it one more time. The way you should look at it is I gotta put on my oxygen mask first. I gotta make sure I'm good first. And then from there, I can move around the plane and help everybody else, so to speak.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but if I can't take but if I got my oxygen mask on, if I'm not taking care of myself, Imma die trying to help you, right? I'm helping you put your mask on and I got my mask on.
yeah,
That's the best way to put it. So I got to make sure I got my mask on first and I'm taking care of myself. And so if even if you say, okay, I'm going to help my kids, but then as soon as you help your kids, you're like, okay, I got to now really buckle down on saving money and doing retirement and stuff like that. And when your kids come, you got to say, hey, you know, you got to kind of figure this out. And even like I don't have actual kids, we have someone not actual, an actual son. Even we have these type of conversations. It's like, okay, I can help you, but have the conversation. Sit down and say, okay, let's figure out why you're in this situation. Are you living above your means? Are you living above your means? Are you really taken seriously, or do you think that we're a safety net for you? Because we can't keep giving you money. Really sit down and have that conversation with your kids. Really sit down and say, I can't keep giving you money every month. Because how many of these young kids do you think are out here just living their life and doing this and that because they know they have a safety net of their parents, even when you're in your 30s or whatever, of your
man.
parents are going to always send you money, or if you have a problem, they're going to send you money.
Hey, I see some adults
I see it all
that
the
live
time.
kind of like maybe, and maybe how they live kind of carefree in a sense. I don't mean to say it like that, but it's like you having back in your mind that you got people, and like somebody's gonna come save you. And I said, for me, I'm the savior,
Mhm.
right? So there's nobody coming to save me.
Correct.
I'm the one that's saving other people. I'm giving the life raft. And I know those folks that are on the call, right, on the podcast today, said thinking like I'm the one that's giving out, right? If all anything goes down or something happens, somebody's gonna call me, and I'm always gonna be the one that's gonna answer. I'm gonna be the one that has to be the responsible one because I can allow that to happen. But if it were to happen to me, there's
No one's gonna
nobody coming.
no one has the ability to help me.
Nobody has the ability, and
Correct.
it's interesting that I would even sacrifice to be able to help your financial situation, your situation. But
Especially if I'm not good. Yeah, especially if I'm not good.
yeah, But
Yeah.
I'll be willing to do that. But that was what I was talking about earlier, as far as like, the cost of being the responsible one and that sacrifice you were talking about. And it's like, dang, I had a little bit of oxygen mask, like you said earlier. It was still on there, but then I just took that sucker off and I gave it to you. And so I'm gonna hold my breath until I'm not gonna get that back. There's nobody coming back for me,
Yeah, nobody's
right?
gonna hand you their mask
No, they're not.
no one's gonna hand you your mask to move. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I
So
know those
it's
folks.
like you said, it's a balance. Again, especially now because of the way retirement is today, the way society is, the way the economy is. Again, like I said, so many people are retiring nowadays without pensions. They're not. They don't have pensions. They don't have retirements from working certain places or whatever. They only have the money. Like I said, back in the day, it was a whole different situation. Everything we're talking about back in the day was a whole different situation. It's like I don't really got to worry about retirement because when I retire, I'm going to get these checks. So I
Yeah.
can give you money, I can help you and stuff like that. But nowadays, that's not the case. When your parents are getting ready to retire, if they don't have any checks and stuff like that, their money can run out point blank. And so they gotta, I saw a video the other day where this woman was saying, she was like, I was just living my life, I was doing my thing and stuff like that. And she said, now, she said, I have no savings, I have no money or anything like that. She said, all I have is my social security. And the funny part is, she said, I have more money at the end of the month on social security than I had at a job. And why do you think she said that?
Why?
Why do you think she said that?
Why?
She said, "Because now I know how much money I have." And she's like, "I gotta budget this
Yeah.
because I don't
Yeah.
have any other money coming in."
It's
So she's like,
fixed.
"I
It's
gotta make
limited.
this work." She's like, "I gotta make this work. I'm not gonna get any more money." So she's like, so then that's when it's like, "Hey, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't live check to check. I gotta build a savings account in case something happens." Now you have a whole different mindset. And like she said, she's like, "I wish I would have had this mindset 20, 25 years ago when I was just spending money, just living my life." Because again, you're not thinking about there's one day that I'm going to retire. There's one day that I'm not, I'm going to struggle to pay my bills and things like that. You don't think about that when you're 20 or when you're 30.
Yeah.
You're just out here living your life. You're like, man, 65 is so far away. Then before you know it, you're 50, 55 years old and you have no retirement and you have no plan.
All right, Eric. I know we closing around, we getting close to that time. But I do have some rapid
But I
fire.
said we're going to do the rapid fires like
Yeah, we'll
usual.
do
All
rapid
right.
fire for you. Are
Let's
you
get it.
ready, sir?
Let's
Are you
get it.
ready?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, all right, all right. Eric, now this is just continue the sentence of this. And then there's some other stuff going on. But yeah, the responsible person eventually burns out when
When they figure out that they're not able to reach their goals.
mm, people mistake responsibility for
I would say expectation.
ooh. The hardest financial word to say is
Oh, that's no. That's easy.
woo, what?
That's
Okay.
easy. Yeah, the hardest word to say is no. If everybody could learn, yeah, that's easy. I didn't even let you finish that question. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
The
easy.
greatest gift you can give your family is
Oh, I said it earlier. You got some kids and stuff like that. Definitely give them education. Definitely. That's the greatest gift you can give these young people is the education of understanding financial literacy. That's the problem. Most adults do not have financial literacy. So how can you teach it to your kids? So then this cycle just continues and continues and continues. Definitely
when you s-
financial literacy.
when you said that, I want to say that which is harder, saying yes or saying no?
The sad part is it's always easy to say yes.
Mm.
It's just a reaction, being able to tell, especially when people, it's like you feel like if you tell people no, you feel like you're letting them down. You feel like, you're
Yeah.
hurting their feelings and things like that. But if you're always saying yes, everybody has good feelings. You tell everybody yes. You might feel a certain type of way after you say yes and give them the money and then they walk away. You might feel a certain type of way, but they're good. They're
Yeah.
good 'cause they have the money, they have their situation, so they're gonna be able to take care of their situation, but, a lot of people have a problem saying no because they're afraid that they're gonna hurt the people's feelings or whatever, telling them no, but again, you have to understand that there are gonna be times when you have to tell people no.
Loaning a family member 5,000 or telling them no.
It would have to be what the situation is for.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Okay.
just straight up say no. If it's
Okay.
something that, they really and truly like we all have emergencies. We all have things that happen and stuff like that. And so if I have money sitting in an account and, it's going to harm in some way, my family member for them not to have this taken care of and, we're going to work them out, again, like I said, loan, not give. We're
Right,
gonna
right.
work out, you give me the money back and stuff like that. To me, I've always had the mindset of it's crazy for me to watch you suffer if me loaning you this money is not going to affect what I got going on. So if me loaning you the money is not going to stop me from doing what I'm trying to do as far as my goals are, as far as, putting this money away, paying my bills, doing all this and that, if me loaning you the money is me just taking it out of a money market account or something like that. And when you paying it back, I just put it back into that account. It's not really harming me. The only way it's harm, like I said, is if somebody sits back and says, borrows the money and doesn't pay it back. So now they feel again, it's not loaning the money. That's just a word at this point.
Mhm.
When a lot of times, like I said, when a lot of times, certain people, but they come to ask borrow money, I know they're not giving it back.
Yeah.
I know they're not giving it back. So that's when you have to say to yourself, is this going to harm me to loan it to them? Not just financially, is it going to harm me relationship wise? Am I now going to have a problem with you every time I see you because you owe me this money, you're not giving it back to me?
Pay for your
So
child's college or fully fund your retirement. What I guess what advice would you give your clients in the sense, or would it be something case by case basis?
it'll be case by case basis. We would talk about, trying to figure out how to get your kid, grants, things like that. And again, it's funny. I always kind of smile whenever we have this conversation because there's so many people out here who have degrees, who went to college and stuff like that, who aren't doing anything with these degrees. Nothing. They're not doing anything except paying this bill because they went and got these degrees and they're not doing anything towards these degrees and stuff like that. You see all these people say, all these entrepreneurs out here who don't have degrees, so they poo-poo on, people going to college and stuff like that. But there are certain things that you need to go to school for. Like obviously what I do, I need to go to school to be able to get to get the licenses, to get, you know, all the further education and stuff like that for people to feel comfortable working with me and stuff like that in finance and accounting and things like that. But there are a lot of things that people do that, that you really don't need to go to school for. And a lot of kids, believe it or not, like I said, a lot of people go to college and they don't do anything with their degrees. So I would really sit down, like I've had conversations with my nieces and nephews and things like that. It's like, don't go to school just to be going to school. Correct? You're gonna have to
Yeah.
pay that back or whatever. Don't go to school just because you think that everybody's telling you that you need to go to school. If you don't wanna go to school, if you don't plan on doing anything with it, don't waste your time, don't waste my time, don't waste this money just to tell everybody you have a degree. In many cases, as you know, a lot of people don't even finish the degree. So you're just throwing money away.
Mm.
I know that was a little long-winded,
No, you
but
good. You good. This
but
last one. Being responsible does not mean
not taking care of yourself, which is crazy because that's a sign of not being responsible.
mhm.
If you're not taking care of yourself because you owe it you're responsible for your own household as well.
Yeah.
So when you say I need to be responsible, I need to be responsible for myself as well, not just responsible for other people.
That's good. Thank you, sir. All right. That's good stuff. Thank you, sir. That was so great. Uh Look at that. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Look at that, man. Hey, this was a definitely a powerful. We went over today, so this was powerful today, Eric. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone who tuning in this evening. Uh, yeah, we did. I think we have a few questions real quick. I think Kevin said, "Is it hard being broke, and it's hard to be comfortable in retirement? Which hard do you want?" Right?
Yeah, I would rather do the sacrifice now because, like he's saying, I would rather sacrifice now when I have the ability to work and make more money and stuff like that. You do not want to be in retirement and struggling and not being able to pay your bills and stuff like that and have no means of making money. So it's you need to make the sacrifices today. And broke is an interesting word because it's like, am I living like I'm broke or am I actually broke? Do you understand what I'm saying? If I'm living like I'm broke, it's because I'm putting money into the things necessary, like he's saying. So when I get to retirement, I'm good, as opposed to a person who's broke because they're living paycheck to paycheck and not doing the things they need to do.
Yeah.
Even on that, like I say all the time when we sit down and have the consultations and we talk about finding money and paying off debt and things like that. I always say you got to grow your shovel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're younger and have the ability, have the time and stuff like that to, I have clients who have 2 or 3 jobs or whatever because they want to pay something off and, start saving money and doing things like that. It's a lot easier doing that in your 30s and your 40s to be able to pay all this debt off and do all these things to start being able to start putting money towards retirement as opposed to not being able to go work and things like that when you're in retirement. So you're kind of stuck. So
Okay.
it's almost like the lady I said earlier. Now she has a forced budget.
Mm.
She's forced to have to budget now because all she has is her Social Security. When if I'm working a job where I'm making a certain type of money, I can get a budget and I can do what I need to do to save money and live kind of broke, so to speak. But again, it's a choice. She admitted that. She was like, I made wrong choices. I did not think about that when I was younger and things like that. She was like, I was just out here living my life. I was out here doing my thing. And then all of a sudden, when it came to retirement, she was like, I had no money saved.
Yeah.
So, so like he's saying, are you willing to live like a broke person today or be a broke person in retirement?
All right. That's good, Eric. This is really good tonight. Thank you everyone for tuning in this evening. Eric, you want to tell them about your consultation? Are you taking consultation calls this
Yes,
week?
we are
Next week?
still taking consultations, um, free 30-minute consultations. Like I said, a lot of times people just call for a quick question. Um, like if they're trying to start a business. I had some LLC questions today. I had some people come in earlier, just to kind of sit down and talk about what they're trying to do with their business, what they think I should do, what they should do as far as type of business that they need to have and things like that, or just quick questions about, your retirement, things like that, like, how we talked about the thing with the 401ks and stuff like that. If you have questions and things like that, you can definitely give me a quick call. Again, I'd rather talk to people to kind of clear up some type of questions that you have within the 30-minute time, as opposed to people just walking around aimlessly saying, I don't understand this, but at the same time, I don't want to pay anybody to help me. That's kind of crazy to me. Especially, and again, I'm not the only person out here who's given 30-minute consultations, free 30-minute consultations and stuff like that. If you call certain people or ask around, there are people like myself who are willing to help people, have an understanding on, giving you some financial literacy and helping you understand what you have going on in a quick 30-minute consultation.
All right. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Eric. And we'll be signing off next Tuesday. We'll be
Yes,
here
sir.
again, 7 o'clock Central
Yes, sir.
Standard Time. I'll see you guys.
All right. Thank you.
All right.